Hey, it's Dorleen and welcome to my channel. I'm working on a one-page layout for the CutCardStock blog, and you can see up there in that left-hand corner, that is what I am hoping that my layout will look like. I created everything onto Design Space. I cut everything out with my Cricut. Now, when I say I created, I did not create this cut. I actually got it from Design Space, looking it up, but I decided what size and the colors and things like that. So all of the cardstock that I'm using, including the base and the white, are from Cut Cardstock. I'll have a link below in the information box of their store or their general website, also their blog, as well as my own blog. My blog, I'll have details on what exact colors I used, and also just more photos of the finished product. So once I cut everything out, I just put them in color order. So you can see that I have the yellow, I have the orange, and I have the light, and then also the darker blue. And I think that helps me to just grab as I'm going. So right now I'm just kind of putting the puzzle together and using the photo as a reference on where everything goes. And I like to do that before I start adhering because you can don't ask me how, but there have been times where I just started hearing and then the final product just turned out horrible. So I'm doing that just to kind of get a general idea of what's going on and where things should fit. The nice thing about going onto a Cricut Design Space and finding an image, you just create it up to, I want to say this is 10.5 inches full circle, and that just creates all I need for this layout. Now, I did also search for a title, which you'll see me later put that on, because of course every layout should have a title or some kind of something, and I really like the title that I chose. Again, just using Design Space. It wasn't anything I actually created. I just put them all together. I did add an offset on the title just because it just makes it easier to place on a layout. Here it comes. Happiness comes in waves. I love that. So I did create that offset just because again, I needed a base to put those letters. It also helps with placement as well. So what I decided to do, because when I put the puzzle together earlier, I noticed that things were just a little bit off. So I decided to use the negative cut of those pieces. I started with the blue because I thought that this horizontal line that I'm putting on right now really is kind of what sets the piece. So I put it within that negative place, which you saw me do a minute ago. I'm just using liquid adhesive to adhere that down. And then once I do that, I place that negative portion again on top of what I just adhered. And that's what I'm going to use as a guide to place all the other pieces of the blue, or the darker blue. Now, once I determine this darker blue, at that point, I'm not going to do that for the rest of the colors because I feel like at this point, everything can fit as well as it could. I mean, I could figure that part out. Now, you could definitely do that with all the negative spaces if that's something you wanted to do. I just felt like it wasn't needed for this cut. Pretty simple cut, really. And of course, I did want it to look as straight or correct as possible. So there you go. And then, like I mentioned, from there, that's when I started putting everything else down. Now you can see here, I started putting or using that negative for the yellow. But I'm going to tell you, for some reason, I had the hardest time. I did use repositionable adhesive or glue stick for the sun because I knew I was going to move that around. But you see how when I place it on, you can see some of the blue. You can see that it's just not right. And this is when I decided, all right, I'm not going to use this thing. I'm just going to really eyeball it. And as long as I'm, doing the yellow and orange, alternating those, things like that, it was going to turn out fine. And there you go. I'm right. So originally I had that same light blue as in the circle, and I just thought, I don't know, it was just blending too much in there. So I grabbed the scrap of that darker blue, loved it so much more. So I grabbed a full sheet and decided to place that circle on that darker blue. So isn't that so much better? I love the way it pops. And then with that title, it's so cute. I love this picture of my granddaughters. They're just like clutching onto each other. It's just so cute. And again, I just, I'm just going through each step, not really sure how I'm finishing it. I knew I wanted that one piece. I just loved the way it looked. But even when I put the picture on, I just thought, oh, it needs something. So I started doing this little sparkle splatter, and that's really more of a background. It's going to get mostly covered up, but it's still kind of fun in those corners. Now, normally I have to wait a little bit for that the liquid to dry, but I figured if I get sparkle in the front, I wasn't going to be mad about it. It would be fine, because that is what will happen. It'll get a little bit on the front, but I'm okay with that. A little sparkle is a good thing. So again, I'm kind of just taking my time, putting it down, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, what am I going to do about that picture? I do decide to go in my stash. I did grab some very neutral shell paper. And the thing I like about it the most is that it's a natural kind of color. It's not a white. And so I did decide to matte the photo twice, one with that shell paper and another time with the natural paper. Now, I don't do that very often. I don't normally combine white with like an off-white, but I don't know if I was just being a rebel, and I don't even know if that's even a rule anymore, but I like the way it looks. It just kind of offsets that picture just enough to know, or to give it the attention it needed. And I also cut a whole bunch of shells with that same natural, and you'll see me in a minute with those. I did use some of my ink to just ink a little bit around the edges. I used my Cricut mat to hold everything together because there were some small pieces, but again, just a little bit of shading. I didn't want it to be so overwhelming, because that circle or that puzzle or that, whatever you want to call it, the wave, the beach, the sun, all of that was so pretty and so bright. I didn't want it to take away from it, but at the same time, I knew it needed something. So like I mentioned, I cut a bunch of shells, I layered them, I cut them with my Cricut as well, part of Design Space, nothing I created. And then I just started putting them down. I made a base for the title and also added some to the photo. I post 2 videos a week on YouTube. One is always scrapbooking, and the second is whatever it is I'm creating in the command center. The command center is the name of my craft room and also my blog. I'll have my blog address down below, like I mentioned earlier, and with all the information that you'll need. So I hope you do like this video. I hope my talking didn't confuse you too much. It is really actually very simple to put together. I hope that the tip with using the negative portion of the cuts help you with your placement. I hope that you're not too upset about my off-white and white placement. Actually, I'd love to hear your comments about that. Do you combine white with off-white? I don't know how odd that is, but I liked it for this layout, and I hope you do too. If you do, please like the video, give me a thumbs up, whatever it is you need to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, and I hope to encourage you to try something like this on your own. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.